Hello, friends. I am here to begin a new series of videos. I'm going to try to keep all these videos very short. These are designed to be an introduction to working with the P5 library with JavaScript. These videos are just about some background JavaScript and what the web really is, and get you set up with this code editor that I am going to be using. And I recommend it. It's called Visual Studio Code. It's a free download. You can download it for any operating system. If you haven't done that yet, go ahead and do it. I recommend also using the Chrome web browser. And you can see I've got the developer tools open already. The Chrome web browser is a place where you can run JavaScript. You can see I can define variables and log them right here in the console. But we're going to use the console to get data out of our what we write. So if you download Visual Studio Code and open it up, you should see a page like this. I recommend keeping a folder, on your desktop where you can store your files. And if you open that folder that you just made, you should see it in your Visual Studio Code. I think it's a very nice way to keep track of where stuff is, rather than just creating new files in this editor and storing them God knows where. You know, everything's in this tutorials folder. And so I can create in here something called an index.html. This index.html is called index.html just by convention. An index.html is an HTML file, which is what a website serves you when you go visit them. So if I go to Google and I go to google.com index.html, you can see it's this thing that you also get if you just type google.com. So the index.html is usually the starting point for every website, and that's just by convention. We can also look for other pages. And most sites will also have like an about page. And you can see if I go to products, there's also a products page. So there's a lot of different, this is on the back end. This website is hosted by a server. The server serves me the information that I request in this URL. We can also create a little server. We can run a server locally using VS Code, and that's one of the reasons I think it's so nifty. Let's make an HTML page. And to do that, yet another really nifty thing about VS Code is it has this library called Emmet built right in. I'm going to type exclamation point, and you can see it comes up this Emmet abbreviation. Now I can click on this, or I can just hit return, and it builds me an HTML file. Just the bare bones of an HTML file. You can see it has a doc type of HTML. It's telling me what language it has. There's some stuff in the header that the internet needs to help parse this page. There's a title. I can change this to cool title. And in this body is where our actual content could go. So I could put in here something called a div, which is a divider. And I could put inside that div, I could put something called a p tag. And every time I type that, you can see I'm getting this Emmet abbreviation. I can just hit enter, and it fills that out for me. And I could say, hi there. So that'll be my text. This is my div. My p is in my div. You can see HTML is used to structure content for the web. And our course website has like a ton of content. All that content is structured like this. But our course website is built almost exclusively with JavaScript, which is what I want to show you in these videos, and it's what we would do in P5 as well, is use JavaScript to transform what's happening on the page. So you can see here I've got this hi there. If I open the developer tools, I'll click these three little dots, more tools, developer tools, you can see I've got this nifty little thing called the console. I've also got this thing called elements, and I can see on this page the outline of my page. You can see our code doesn't seem to have any JavaScript in it, but it actually does. It's got some code injected by live server when I opened it up, and that's just a bunch of JavaScript. We don't need to take a look at that right now. Let's look at our div and see there's that hi there tag. So this is my HTML. We can style that HTML using something called CSS. Now this won't be a course about CSS. If you want to learn more about it, I strongly recommend it. It's super neat and fun, but there's just too much to learn. These videos and this course isn't going to go much into CSS. But here I'm just going to give this text a color of blue. And we can go back to our page and see, yeah, the color is now blue. So CSS is neat that way. We can include JavaScript on our page in one of two ways. We can either, you see there's the Emmet abbreviation. I can write it in a script tag here, or I can select this second option and include a URL to where my JavaScript is. Let's do that, because that's what we're going to need to do with P5. So I'm going to delete all these other tags, and I'm just going to have this index.js. So I'm going to make that file now. And in this index.js, I'm going to write some JavaScript that's going to put that hi there back there on the page. So we can do that using something called the console. First let's log something to the console. Let's say hi there. So console.log is how we can get feedback from our application about what's happening. I just said, let's just say hi there, and we go to the console, and we see there it is, hi there. So that's nice. I can console.log hi there. I can also console.log the various whatever's available in this environment. And by default, there's this thing called the document that just is how JavaScript works. So JavaScript works by manipulating this document object. And you can see this document object is basically the representation of the stuff that's on the page. And I can use that document, if you want to, I'll put a link to this in the comments. You can read all about the document at the Mozilla Developer Network web doc. So Mozilla, you might or might not know, is actually the people who wrote JavaScript originally. And they're the people behind the Firefox browser. And they wrote JavaScript originally in a weekend, long time ago. One guy over there did. And you can see we've got document body. We've got all this stuff that's on the document. And another cool thing that the document has is some cool methods. One of those methods is create element. So I'm gonna make that div we made before, and I'm gonna assign it to a variable. Next video, we're gonna talk about variables. In this video, I'm just going to use it real quick. We're going to make a div. We're going to change some of the properties of that div. So I just happen to know these. This video isn't going to be so much about using this specific syntax. Again, if you want to find out any of those things, you can find them out here on the Mozilla Developers Network. I'm just gonna toss some stuff out there for you. We'll just go hi there. And then we can say document dot body, because remember the body is part of this, dot append child div. And let's see if we get that text back up there. So we get it back up there. Hi there. I can comment out a line by selecting it and going command backslash or toggle line comment, and now it disappears. I bring it back, it comes back. So we have this variable named div that's storing a div, and we're appending it to the document.body. We can also do some other stuff to change how this looks. We can actually do all kinds of stuff, but I want to keep these videos as short as possible. So especially for this introduction, I want to just mention that by the end of these videos, you'll feel comfortable building this. And we're going to make it clickable. We'll be able to interact with it. And all this as a way to get you feeling really confident heading into using the P5 library, which we're going to start using really soon. And in the P5 library, we're going to be able to manipulate another really neat part of the web called the HTML5 canvas. And we'll get to that in due time. But for now, I'm going to leave you. Well, before I leave you, actually, let me just show you the code that made those things here, all these things here. And this is all the stuff that I want to show you in this series of videos. If there's anything here that feels like I don't quite understand that, then come ahead and watch these videos with me. If you feel really confident that you could write this code yourself, then you don't need to watch these videos. You'll be fine. These videos are for people who want just a little bit more before we dive deeper into JavaScript. So we'll talk about variables. We'll talk about numbers and strings. We'll talk about functions and organizing our code using functions. And we'll talk about array methods like this one. So I'll see you in the next one.